What's up? We got The Flash, Season 2, Episode 18, versus Zoom. So this episode starts off with Barry monologuing about when his mom died and about terrible things happened to people when they were children. Stuff could affect them. And when his mom died, he got to live with Barry and Iris. But on Earth 2, something different happened. We're seeing Hunter Zolomon. And we see him go downstairs to see his father beating his wife. Saying about how beating and slapping around his wife. Saying about how his wife was about to leave. How dare his wife leave him because he's her husband. And she's like, you're not her husband. You're nothing but a monster. And then he's just like, and she's like, Hunter, go. And he's like, you stay there, Hunter. And he's like, you don't want to see this. As he shoots the wife, leaving Hunter all alone because nobody wanted him in the world. No relatives wanted him. Putting him in an orphanage. So then we see Barry in the present day training. And he jumps to a portal, probably to Supergirl's Earth. This probably connects to episode 18 of Supergirl. And then comes back saying, wait, he's back? How do you do? And she's like, you beat your speed. That's fast enough to defeat Zoom. I think he went to Supergirl's Earth. I think this connects to episode 18 of Supergirl. Which, by this episode's recording, I just finished the review for that episode. Watch it when this episode goes live. That episode was great. But anyway, so he's like, so Barry's like, so after talking with Wally again, because Wally's like the genius on this show now, Barry's like, hey, maybe getting Cisco, so he's like, hey, just like Reverb, he had power to burst energy bursts out of his hand. He's like, if he could control that and link his powers to the multiverse, and since Caitlin's like, he could open breach to any Earth he wants. He's like, including Earth 2. So Cisco is like, it's not working, and he's like, let's go. And he's like, Cisco, and he's like, I'm sorry, Barry. And then he tries again, and Zoom's actually like, keep coming. Jade is like, or Hunter, as we learn. His name is Hunter Zolomon. We learned that his name was Hunter Zolomon, and he was a convicted serial killer, and he was convicted of 3 murders. But then his father killed his mom right in front of him, and because he had no one, he was sent to an orphanage, and he grew up to become a serial killer who has 23 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to electroshock therapy, but that's when the particle accelerator went off, turning him into Zoom, the unstoppable monster that we all loathe. Or love, because I love Zoom's voice, yeah. Love Zoom's voice, just don't. He's one of the best villains ever. I think Rules Reverse Flash is one of the best villains. Him and Reverse Flash are second best of my favorite villains of Flash Season 1 and 2. So he's like, keep Cisco, keep coming. And Cisco's like, no, don't ask me to do this again. So Barry's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, Cisco's just afraid that he'll become like Reverb. He'll become like, he'll turn into Vader. And Barry's like, nah, you're not going to become Vader. Like, Star Wars references, of course. And he's like, yeah, he is. So then he does, and he's like, Hunter doesn't know that we know his secret. He's like, he thinks we know his other secret, so we gotta use that against him, and traps him. So they get him to Earth 1 where he's like, you've been opening the breaches. And he and Barry get into a fight, but then he sees cardboard cutouts of his mom and dad, giving him flashbacks, and he's like, and Barry defeats him, saying, yo, we were trying to fix you, dude. And he's like, he was dying, Bear. And he's like, Caitlin gave you to the first part. How'd you figure out that he wasn't Jay? And he's like, how'd you figure out I wasn't Jay? And he's like, because you told Caitlyn who your doppelganger was. And he's like, it was the only way Garrett stopped fixing me. He's like, we found you a cure. And he's like, a temporary one. He's dying, Barry. And he's like, there's only one way I can get what he wants. And he's like, you don't care how much you hurt and how much people you hurt to get. And he's like, no. And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, you can't look up the dark. And he's like, what'd you just say? And he's like, you can't look up the darkness. And he fights him, and Barry's like, hey, okay. Barry's like, and kidnaps the wall. And he's like, no, it's the only way to get Barry to give him speed if he kidnaps Wally. So he kidnapped Wally, and he's like, hey, Wally, there's only one that can save you. And he's like, who can save him? And he's like, the Flash. And he's like, what does the Flash have to do with any of this? And he's like, the Flash, there's someone who cares. The Flash knows someone who cares for you. And yeah, so Barry's like, okay, Zoom, I'll give you my speed. But that kind of doesn't make any sense with the scenes that we've seen on. Yeah, that kind of doesn't make any sense with the whole Barry scene with Barry, giving his speed to Barry speeding away from Laurel's funeral. But Barry gives away his speed, so he's like, so he basically explains that. So he's like, how are you alive? We saw you die. And he's like, yeah, no. I convinced my timer. I convinced a past version of himself to pretend to be Jay, so he could then he saw through his plan, and he knew that he saw his plan, and convincing his other version of himself to kill him was very. He's like, why'd you do it? And he's like, to give people hope. He's like, why run around like the Flash? And he's like, to give people hope, detective. And he's like, hope, so I could rip it away from them. And he's like, it's so fun pretending to be a hero. And he's like, and Caitlyn's like, no, you're not a hero. You're nothing but a monster. And then it flashback to when his mom called his dad a monster. So yeah, so Barry gives him his speed for Wally, and then he injects himself and almost kills Barry, but she's like, Jay or Hunter, if you ever cared about me and if anything ever said is true, you'll let him go. And then speeds away with Caitlyn to end this episode. So we learned the truth about Hunter Zolomon. That he's not really Hunter Zolomon, that Jay Garrick is really Hunter Zolomon, Zoom, and that Zoom, that he just wanted to be a hero so he could rip hope away from people. That's he's a psycho. He's a serial killer, so of course he's a psychopath. But yeah, but that doesn't mean this episode but this episode is one of my favorite episodes of The Flash. Watch my Supergirl episode, Supergirl. Watch the Supergirl finale on the review. Watch it. It's pretty good. But anyway, that's it. But anyway, that kind of... yeah, so Zoom now has Caitlyn. And if he has Caitlyn, that means we'll probably getting to see Killer Frost again. Because they wouldn't have Caitlyn in the episode without having her meet her double, Killer Frost. Yeah, but anyway, that was it for the video, and I'll see you next time for more of The Flash. This show should be called Zoom.